What's good everyone, yadiiiigg, 4 eyes, 2 G's here, and today we're here to talk about Young Thug. And over Young Thug's career, it's no secret that he has consistently failed to meet sales expectations, because for all the internet hype he had with all the discussion, internet hits and controversies, it never translated to sales, with him not being able to break 40k on a solo project, whereas newcomers like Gunna, Lil Baby, Lil Yachty and Cardi have all been able to come in and do more than him already. But why is this the case? Well, I think there are a few key reasons, and back in my earlier days on this channel I did do a similar video on this, but let's touch on it again. Firstly, I think it starts with the fact that Young Thug has never compromised on his sound, and because of this, he kinda alienated that mainstream audience. A couple years back, Thug's music was just so vastly different to the norm and not fit in for the mainstream at all. Although we are in an era right now where countless artists have come out with obvious Young Thug influence, that just wasn't the case back then, and with the type of music he was delivering on albums like Jeffrey or Beautiful Thugger Girls, it was evident that he just didn't want to conform and make pop-friendly music. So I think his music just being so out there and unique made it hard for him to have those big hit singles to push up those first week numbers, and that's why a song like The London has been such a huge success. That song doesn't really sound like a typical Young Thug song in a sense, and it's clear that the pop sensibility that it has. In addition to this, I think all the controversies that he's been involved with just further alienated the mainstream audience. It begins with the whole Young Thug is gay controversy or narrative. When Thug first came out, it was a very different climate for someone who dressed themselves in such a feminine way like he did. Rappers still get clowned for what they wear, but at this point to dress in a feminine way has just become more accepted, and from a fan's perspective, all the comments and stuff regarding them today are more entertaining than it is ridiculing and judging them for it. So Young Thug, I think, went through the initial stage a few years ago where he turned off people with how he handled himself with the whole I might be gay aesthetic. Also, it wasn't only this controversy that turned people off him, it was also things like beefing with Wayne with the whole Barter 6 rollout, to his comments about him being the new Puck, to the Jeffrey dress cover, to the point where his rollouts felt like they were more focused on the bullshit surrounding them rather than the actual music, and again this just turned away the radio audience from Thug. And before we go on guys, just a reminder, if you haven't, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and make sure to follow me on Instagram if you're not, at yadiiiigg. Go support your boy, but getting back to it. And furthermore, an issue with Thug has always been how he was handled by his labels, in particular with 300, and how they handled the releasing and promotions of his albums. This has been a widely talked about issue, so I'm not going to do a deep dive, but Young Thug has literally announced collab projects with Metro Boomin, the Migos, Post Malone, TM88 that have all never seen the light of day. Then there was the whole situation with High Tunes, which was announced all the way back in 2013, then was even picked up by 300, who tried to gear it up for a release again in 2015 with singles like Paradise, but then it was put on the back burner, and instead of it being released, other projects were released instead, and left Thug fans confused, and still to this day we have no idea what the hell happened to that project. And again, when Thug was promoting Slime Season 3 and getting ready to release it by actually going on a proper promotion run with interviews and stuff like that, for some reason the label decides to completely abandon the release of Slime Season 3 on its planned release date initially and releases an entirely different project with I'm Up, which has been one of Thug's worst projects to date. And although if you're watching this video you might think that none of this stuff really matters or is that important, you gotta think people like you and me make up a small percentage of listeners. The casual fan doesn't keep up to date and follow the scene like we do, so to them, if Young Thug is announcing all these projects, releasing singles here and there, and they're just totally abandoning these albums with no word on them, it's just so confusing to them as a consumer, and they find it difficult to keep up to date and interested in what's going on. However, hopefully with the release of So Much Fun this week, the era of low Thug sales are in the past. Off the back of a couple really big singles with The London and Goodbyes, Young Thug has never been in a better position in terms of the mainstream listener base to have a commercially successful album, but I guess we will have to wait and see what happens. And that's all for me today guys, thanks a lot for watching. As I said, make sure to hit that like button if you haven't, subscribe to your boy, make sure to follow me on Instagram also at yadiiiigg, and finally there are more videos of mine on screen right now, make sure to check them out if you haven't.